I don't even know.
7.
7. All right. Mark, would you like to lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if I could ask everyone to please stand, we're going to take a moment of silence, or I'd like to take a moment of silence to acknowledge yesterday, 9/11, to observe those who lost their lives and their families who also suffered. Thank you. All right. Introduction of the news media. Nick Ryer is here from Farmers Weekly Review. And then can we have a roll call, please?
Dean Schlottman, Van Dyne, Ogala, Pretzel, Butler, Newquist, Balich, Richmond, Williams, Diaz, Winfrey, Coleman, Logan, Freeman, Revis, Mitchell, Ortiz, Berkowitz, Mueller, Costa, Trainier, President Parker, Pretzel. We have 18, we have a quorum. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Ogala. Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler. Newquist. Balich.
Yes.
Richmond.
Yes.
Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan.
Yes.
Freeman. Revis.
Yes.
Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Trainier. President Parker.
Yes.
We have 18 minutes past.
Good morning, everybody. Before I place the treasurer's report on file, I have the usual comments. Revenues. The August 31st, 2024 operating statements indicate the district's corporate fund has collected $8.58 million in total revenues. That includes approximately $7.24 million in property taxes, $493,241 in replacement taxes, and $373,260 in licenses and permit fees. The remaining balance is attributable to other miscellaneous income. On the expenditure side, the district has incurred approximately $10.88 million of expenditures for the period ended August 31st, 2024. Approximately $6.95 million of these expenditures are personnel costs. The district has experienced a net operating loss of just over $2.29 million year to date, including all budgeted transfers. Unless there are any questions, I move to place the treasurer's report on file.
Motion by Newquist, second by Pretzel. Previous row Freeman, second Balich, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, next we'll go on to the petitions from the public. Do we have any? We do not. All right, then we'll move on to our Finance Committee. Chair Richmond.
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple of things, and then Ralph's going to take it away and kind of go through our budget. But first item up for finances, schedule of bills in the amount of $1,722,952.59, and I so move.
Second, Revis.
Previous Dean Schlottman.
Previous Dean Schlottman, second Costa, all in favor? Motion carries.
All right, new business, we have one item, approval of resolution number 24-17, authorizing the right to exercise and terminate the right of first refusal on track 520 in the Fiddlement Creek watershed. The committee's recommendation was 7-0, and I so move.
Second Costa. Previous Pretzel, second Mueller, all in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, and then as we discussed in committee, Ralph did give a presentation on the draft budget review. And just as a side note, I did talk to Ralph and staff about adding some additional columns to the documentation that you do have that'll have the actual expenditures for the prior fiscal years. So that this way it'll be very similar to what you get from the county on your book and that. So this way we can, do some better analysis, as well as the fact that just wanted to let everybody know that the CPI for this year is 3.4%. So, but Ralph, as we discussed, take it away.
Excuse me, can you repeat that? CPI was what?
3.4, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. As Chairman Richmond indicated, I wanted to just run through the budget that we presented at the Finance Committee last week. Some of you were here, so this is not new information, but every time you hear it, it sinks in a little bit more. First of all, I wanted to just let you know that the Forest Preserve's operating levy rate will be reduced by about 0.32%, and our debt levy rate will be reduced 45.91%. That includes the proposed bond issue. The bond issue has not taken place yet, so those bonds haven't been sold. The debt for them, though, is projected in this figure. So you have an overall rate reduction for the Forest Preserve of just about 22.4%. And I indicated that equates to the owner of a $300,000 home paying about $96 a year in property taxes to support all of the operations and the financing of the Forest Preserve District. So going through the individual funds, we have a corporate fund and construction and development fund. Those are your primary operating funds, operating dollars. So we'll refer to those as we go through. And then the other budgets that are not tied to the levy, but they are included in your budget documents, are the infrastructure maintenance and replacement program, the vehicle replacement fund, the computer replacement fund, the grant fund, which is a special fund that we have whenever there's monies coming into the district from outside sources, whether they be partnerships or grants or even donations. We put those into this fund so we can isolate them just from an auditing perspective. And then the 2019 Limited Tax Development Bond Fund, Fund 50. So looking at the revenues overall, the columns there, corporate, C&D, those are your operating budgets or operating funds, about 13.5 million in property taxes, 4.2 million in property taxes to fund the C&D for a total of 17 million, just under 17.8 million. Replacement taxes, we did note that we are going to see about a 30% reduction, 37% reduction in replacement taxes this year. That's based on projections by the state, not projections by the Forest Preserve, but we have to accommodate that. Then you have permits, licenses, and fees. They're just what it sounds like. So licenses, we do have some licenses that are paid annually, but licenses that are brought to you on an individual basis through the year, say we're going to get to one a little bit later here, Comcast needs to have a license to install some of their facilities at Laraway Road and our Waponsie Glacial Trail. We do not know when or if those license dollars come in, so those are not projected in this license figure. Only those that we know that we'll be collecting this year. Then you have other income, and other income comes from a lot of different things, but it's donations, sponsorship, interest income, and then also employee health care contributions. All of our employees who began work prior to January 1, 2018 pay 10% of their healthcare costs. All employees hired after 2018 pay 20% of their healthcare costs. So those figures are included in other income. And then we have a fund reserve balance transfer of about 2.3 million. 1.4 million of that is directly into the corporate fund, and we can talk about that a little bit later. The remainder are in the IMRF and the tort, our SOAR liability insurance. So we have a little bit of excess funds in there. So we're utilizing some of those as well. And then BABS rebates back in 2010, the Forest Preserve sold what were called Build America bonds. This is following the recession of 2008. And in this case, in order to encourage investment, the federal government agreed to rebate 35% of the interest paid on those bonds. So that's that interest money. We put that directly back into capital. And so you see our total revenues there, for the different funds, about 22,630,000. So that's your operating budget. And then on the proposed expenditure side, you can see again, any of our staff that can be tied to construction and development, as well as maintenance, some of our maintenance folks are paid out of our construction and development fund. All of our administrative employees, our visitor services, pretty much everybody else that's not in there is paid out of our corporate budget. The percentage of our budget is about 62%. I've said this before, that's pretty low for a municipal agency. And so we like to keep it that way. So we utilize a mixture of full-time, part-time, and seasonal labor. There are no new full-time hires included in this budget. There are, however, a couple of additional part-time hires in various departments. Contractual expenses, those can be pretty much anything. You've got, well, I shouldn't say anything, but electricity, heating, gas, professional services, maintenance contracts, those kinds of things. About just under $4 million there for about 17.5% of your budget. Commodities are just what they sound like. They're things that you use and then they go away. So it's buying gravel, buying things that are utilized in the operation of the Forest Preserve District. Capital expenditures, you've got that 2.335,766. That matches over on that revenue side if you compared those two numbers. And so those are then dispersed from the fund reserve into those various corporate accounts to pay for those capital purchases. About 770,000 in the C&D, so a total of 3.1 million. And then miscellaneous, we have about $630,000 coming in through there. Or I'm sorry, being expended there. What is that? That's the contribution to our employee health care, or I'm sorry, our retiree health care for the most part, as well as contingency funds. So we always want to maintain a small contingency for unknown projects or unknown problems that come up, a furnace that blows up or something like that we haven't planned for. Those are in contingency. So our total expenditures match our revenues. On the, and I don't have a slide for this one, I don't think. No, I don't have a slide. So I just did want to also note that on the capital, the grant fund, Fund 33, we have several projects there, many of which you've already approved on different levels of the contracts. So we have the DuPage River Weber Road Trail engineering, that's taking place now. The Wolves Crossing Road Normantown Trail engineering, phase 1 engineering, that's also taking place right now. For both of those projects this fall, we will be submitting grant requests to to the Department of Transportation to fund the future engineering and construction phases. We have the Plum Creek Greenway Trail extension at Plum Valley Preserve. That's a project underway. It should be bid either late this fall or into the spring of 2025. We have Hidden Lakes Trout Farm shelter installation. We have improvements at the Isle of Lakash, and then we also have a lighting project that we're doing in partnership with the city of Lockport on the Veterans Memorial Trail. And then in the bond fund, the existing bond fund, so there's about $5.5 million left there. All of those projects are also in play. You have the Hidden Oaks Nature Center exhibit design and fabrication. Those exhibits have been, for the most part, approved and are being fabricated now. We expect them to be installed by the end of this year, but it's more than likely it'll slop over into January of 2025. And so we need to allocate some funds for that there. We have Hidden Lakes Trout Farm improvements. We have Messenger Woods roadway improvements, the Prairie Bluff habitat restoration, ongoing restoration at Kankakee Sands and Forked Creek Preserve. And then also we have a project planned for an addition to one of our facilities at our operations and law enforcement facility. And then what we did not provide for you at this point, because we have not sold the bonds, we did not provide you a budget for the new bond fund. That will be in your October budget package, where we will have that. You've already approved all of those projects through board action earlier this year. So it's just a matter of taking those projects and applying them to that fund. So that's, as Jim noted, the budget does include 3.4% CPI, as well as an estimate of new construction. We do not have a good estimate yet from the county, and that's okay. It's their timeline. They're developing that, and they will typically share that with us the middle of this month. And so by October, we'll be able to tighten those numbers up and possibly adjust them. We used a conservative estimate, or Lisa did, I should say, a conservative estimate in order to build this budget. And if it's too little, or it would lower the levy. If it's too high, then we'll adjust the budget request accordingly. That's all I have.
Mark, I see you have a question. Your light's on.
Yes. I was just reading here again on the district is facilitating the issuance of a 50 million in general obligation limited tax bonds. So that's going to be titled 2024 Limited Tax Development Bond Fund, like when we see it.
Correct.
So when, just like the other one is referred to as like the 2020.
It's called the 2019 Limited Tax Fund, but when I reference it typically, because that's just the fund, I typically call it the 2020-2024 CIP. So this one, when you see it, I'll be referencing the 2025 to 30.
CIP.
Yeah.
Got it. And then I know we talked about it a little bit and then you were covering it. There's that 1.4 million that you want to use from cash reserves. 400,000 was going to the regularly replenished line item in our budget that we account for year after year after year for like improvements and then.
Yeah, it funds up Fund 17, our infrastructure maintenance and replacement program.
Infrastructure maintenance and replacement program, that one. And then the other 1 million was for the various projects that were in the departmental budgets that you said, no, they fit more as a capital thing. And that's why we're going to budget it as such. Can you give more?
Yeah. So just to reiterate our conversation. So when we go into budget development, each of our individual departments, and we have 9 of them, submit a budget to me. And some submit that budget to Tracy, and then Tracy will submit those to me. When I looked at the budget overall, it was too high. We could not accommodate it. It was not appropriate. So I identified a series of one-time or one-time purchases, capital purchases, things that aren't necessarily tied to operations. So things like purchasing and installing new facility door locks, facility cameras, installing flock cameras in several of our forest preserves. One of them, we have a required website migration. That's not an ongoing cost. The contractor that we work with is no longer supported, or some of the software is no longer supported. So it's a one-time switchover. For that, we have, there's a new truck in there for one of our facilities. Again, one-time purchase, some new AV equipment for one of our facilities, and replacement interpretive signage at Riverview Farm and Lake Renwick Heron Rookery. Just to give you an idea, that replacement signage, the signage it's replacing, is 15 years old at Riverview and 20 years old at Lake Renwick. So that's when I talk about that one-offs, things we're not going to be spending a lot of money on year after year after year. That's what I'm talking about.
I actually have a question off of that though. Like, what's wrong with the sign as it is now?
Well, I'd like you to go out to Lake Renwick and take a look at them.
I mean, I've seen them, but I can't necessarily, I've just seen them from the road. So,
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I'm showing that I'm not doing my due diligence there, but I'm
Well,
just curious what the
If
issue
you
is.
went out there, you'd be able to read about half of the sign. 'Cause
Oh.
they're faded and they're old and they're chipped and they're weather damaged.
Oh, okay.
And the same is at Riverview.
Understood. Basically, I guess, I understand we have to spend money on stuff. Inflation is crushing Illinois families, Will County families. It's caused by government spending. The only way to spend, to pay for more government spending is through higher property taxes. So when we keep saying we've further had a property tax rate reduction, people don't feel it. So I understand we're trying to show that we're doing our due diligence, but people don't feel that tangible relief that we're trying to sell them, because whatever value that their home increases because of inflation, they have to pay higher property taxes to make up for it. It's a highly regressive system. We have to find other ways to raise revenue. I know we've talked about that, and it's not like you're opposed to that.
No.
It sounds like we're in step with that. I just would like to see our board come together and come up with ways to raise this revenue, whether it's through a special meeting or something. But there's a lot of creative things that we could come up with. I don't mean to be the only board member that talks every single meeting, but I feel as though we could take our 22 minds together and come up with creative ways for us to raise money through our forest preserve assets. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, meeting after meeting. That's what I want to get to. So hopefully we can achieve that as a team.
Each year you approve our fee schedule, as well as our licensing fee schedule and our permits and costs for individuals to either rent our facilities or attend our programs or use our equipment. That comes up in October, November-ish each year. So that's a time when we can have that conversation if we want to increase those costs for individuals.
Thank you. Mark, I appreciate you always bringing it up because, in some aspects, what you're saying is correct. We want to help alleviate the burden that people feel. But I do feel the Forest Preserve is trying to do what they can by reducing the rate. I mean, the tax bill is an overall tax bill. Obviously, I mean, I know that it's made up of many different taxing bodies. So I think what the Forest Preserve is doing is doing their part to do what they can to lower that. So, but I appreciate you always bringing it up, and I think we should probably get together and see what we can do to continue that.
I could just add one more point. So the Forest Preserve represents less than 2% of your tax bill. So there's not a lot of room for us to make a big impact with people. We can do so individually, and I'm right there with you. But we represent less than 2%. Now, that $300,000 homeowner is going to see a savings of $20 from the Forest Preserve District if his house was not reassessed in 2025. what other taxing, what the other 98% is made of, what they do, we have zero control over.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Balich.
Yeah, I just want to point out, we don't have a problem with revenue. You know, I don't want to see them increase the cost to use the forest preserve, to get a pet, to go walk in the dog park. That's the same thing as a tax. I don't like that. But if we want to reduce actual dollars, which is really difficult to do, the only way to do it is to cut expenses. Every government has a problem with expenses. They spend too much money. And in order for us not to spend so much money, we have to, instead of doing things, we have to not do anything new, or we have to cut things. That's the only way you're going to be able to get the dollars down without raising a tax in some form, because all money in government comes from the citizens. So, you know, I like the idea that Mark's really a hawk on not raising taxes. This here thing is what we've always done on the county board, and here really, we compromise because one side of the aisle wants to raise to the max, the other side don't want to raise at all. They want to cut. So you got a problem. So the solution always was to take new construction only, or what we're seeing here, it's a big cut in the rate. But if you want to really do something to cut the taxes, you have to cut the dollars that you're spending. That's it. It's a spending problem. It's not a revenue problem.
Thank you. Judy?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I know that you guys have included new construction in this. What are we guessing that new construction will be? Because I know we don't have a final information at that yet. What percent is that?
Hi, Judy. What I did is I used last year's new construction figure.
Okay,
And if I get a new figure from the county, which I expect to get like around the second and more like around the third week of September, I will use that number for the next one.
so that was like 1.5%. Is that what it was? Do you remember?
No, it's a flat dollar.
It's like 100, what?
I think it was like 400.
Oh, it's a flat dollar for what you guys had.
Yes, it was around 492 million.
Okay. And CPI is 3.4%?
Correct.
And you guys are planning and asking to take the full 3.4%?
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to give you a point of reference, if we drop that to 3%, say, took a little bit less, that's about a 77-cent savings.
And you'll show that at the next.
Yeah, we can show that.
Okay. All right, Jackie. Thank you, Judy. Jackie.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very pleased with this budget that you've presented, our reduction in the debt levy. I would just say, and you've already mentioned it, Ralph, but I'll reiterate it. If you cut 50% of my 2% tax bill, I'm going to see a $40 savings. Whoopee! I can't even buy a latte a week for that.
Here we go.
I mean, you know, it's just not enough money. And so we can keep talking about how it's a spending issue. It might be a spending issue, but it's not on the county or the forest preserve. It is on our schools and our state legislators' lack of attention to funding schools. If they funded schools the way they do in so many other states, our property taxes would be similar to those of other states. They aren't. Those other states that pay lower property taxes pay higher fees in other areas. At the end of the day, it costs what it costs to have a quality, good education. And since over 70 or around 70% of our tax bill is the school, if you really want to say see savings, run for the school board, attend school board meetings, write your legislator. Those are the avenues that I believe that would be the most helpful to reducing property tax. Everybody here, the other 21 people might disagree with me. maybe they want to take on pumpkin sales every weekend and raise some money for the Forest Preserve. I think our county board chair agrees with me. Every board member can spend their weekend selling pumpkins so that we can raise revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Julie.
Thank you, Annette. So I have a question regarding the new construction. Just if you could define it, is that a cost, like a tax levy for housing units that they're under construction and they're not a resident yet, and then paying the normal levy that the homeowners pay? What exactly does that mean?
I believe they are on properties that have been fully built out. And the majority of that in past years has been commercial properties,
So what is that?
including the warehouses.
So they've been built out?
They've been built out, but as you know, your property taxes are 1 year in arrears.
Correct.
So
So they were completed this year. So next year is their first tax year.
Okay. So the new construction then is, I guess I'm still confused. At what point in time then do these commercial properties pay the normal levy like everybody else?
more than 1 year after they've been completed,
Why is that?
because your taxes are 1 year in arrears.
So
Okay.
when your building is under construction, you're just paying essentially taxes on the land. And so-
That's exactly what I
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
Thinking,
And so
okay.
then once the building is completed, occupied or not, but you've completed it and that you now have that physical structure and it's been signed off by the county or the municipality or whatever, that's when I'll say the tax bill starts to tick. And so this was all properties that were either completed in 2024 or expect to be completed in 2024.
Okay. So this is during construction. So what happens if there's a development that has a lot of acreage and the construction lags on and it goes and perhaps sometimes we see may never be developed and it's been sitting there for years. Do we just get that new construction revenue, or what happens? Do we get nothing?
I think I think the assessor would be the better one to answer
Oh.
that question than us. Yeah. But from the way that we look at it, once that facility is completed, again, whether it's occupied or not, someone is paying the taxes on it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, Frankie.
Thank you. So first of all, I don't think we should be laughing at giving $40 back to the taxpayers. I've met a lot of people that would argue if every taxing body gave them $40 back, they might be able to supply winter coats and boots for their children for the year or pay off a credit card bill. So it makes me cringe a little bit when we say things like it's only, in this case, $40. I've heard 4.5 cents of gas tax on a gas. It's only $18 1 year, 5%, whatever the number is. It's cringeworthy because it's significant to a lot of people. Second, I don't think we have necessarily a spending problem in our forest preserve. I actually appreciate what you guys do. I think we're pretty responsible with our funds. You see 62% of it goes to personnel. I'm not looking to make cuts on that. And I do want to make sure that they're getting their annual pay increases and good benefits. It's important. So with that said, I agree with Member Revis on everything he said today, that we can look for ways to generate more revenue, right? It looked like 5.75% of our revenue comes from non-taxed. I'm sorry, only 5.75% of our revenue comes from non-taxed dollars. So, I mean, if we could find ways to bring in more and we have beautiful land. And when I got married 17 years ago, everybody got married in a banquet facility, but today they're looking for barns and fields and beautiful settings like we have to offer. And I wouldn't be opposed to maybe investing a little bit of money to hiring a marketing firm there's people that are very good at this that could market our land for weddings and class reunions and graduation parties and 50th birthday parties and you name it. I think we have a lot to offer, and we could potentially bring in an extra $500,000 a year or something. I don't know the numbers, but I think sky's the limit on that. So that would give us a lot more revenue to spend on things like replacing signs, and we don't have to look at raising the levy as much every year.
Right.
Thank you.
Want to comment? No?
Yeah, again, I think we can have that discussion in the coming months on when we talk about the license fees. We typically do the land licensing fee. That's done in May of each year, but we'll talk about it and some adjustments that we've made then, and we can plan for some adjustments in May of next year. Of course, you can change your fee schedule anytime you want. So if we wanted to do that sooner rather than later, that would be fine too. The only problem is, again, we don't budget for the things that we don't know. So like that Comcast came to us and, we're processing a license for them. There was no way for us to predict that income when we developed the 2024 budget. So the similar things will happen in 2025, which will increase the revenues on that line.
Thank you. Vince, you had your light on, but I see it's off, so you're good? You're wait, okay. Mr. Van Dyne.
Thank you, Madam President. It seems like every time we have this discussion, somebody always wants to bring political views into this, and I just want to try to set the record straight. And I'll speak for myself as a registered Democrat. I do not want a tax to the max. I had the opportunity when I was president to negotiate with both sides to try to bring down the CPI, and I believe we were successful in that both years and possibly even last year as a Democrat was in charge. So I just want folks to know that that's not the case, and I'm not going to let somebody just make assumptions without talking to everybody that's on this board, if that's their feeling. So anyway. What I do like, the fact is, if I were to live in a $300,000 house, it only cost me $80 in tax money to travel miles of trails, hundreds of miles of trails, walk in thousands of acres of forest preserve, and visit numerous nature centers and forest preserve buildings, endless programs. So I am proud of that fact. And I think the budget, I think Ralph and staff did a wonderful job, and you, Madam President, putting this budget together, and I'd be happy to support it. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Back, is there anybody else who hasn't spoke yet? All right.
I can speak now.
Jim,
Okay.
did you speak?
I'm just getting ready to
Oh,
wrap
yeah,
this party up, so that's all.
Vince?
I did hear you said we're getting flock cameras, so I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. I am very happy to hear that we're getting those. For people that don't know, those are license plate readers. I think they will make the forest reserves a lot safer. It's just, it might be a little bit more work for the police, but I see Dave's over there. But I think that's a great start, at least to keep the riffraff out of the forest preserve. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Mark.
I want to tie it back in here. I know that the schools have their issues, but 1.4 million spent at the school district, at the forest preserve, at the park district, no matter what unit of government, it's still 1.4 million or whatever the sum of money that we are spending is. It's still that money that the taxpayer has to pay back. So in one breath, if you want to blame the sins of our schools and blame them for our woes, but then in your next breath, you justify the same sins at the forest preserve, there's an issue. The forest preserve is especially different because when you look at the responsibilities of schools, they're numerous. And in fact, I think the argument can be made, they're using those dollars further in more diverse ways and they have more responsibility. So it's actually, I'm not saying lesser impact. I know there are the problems, but it's almost like it's more understandable that their taxes are so much higher and take up more of a percentage of the property tax bill than the forest preserve. I don't know who referenced politics specifically, but our colleagues on the left used to be aligned with me on this, at least, that the forest should be free. There should be available access to our forest preserve, and we should try and lean on generating revenue for the groups that want to come and use it, as opposed to leaning on every single person's property tax bill, because quite frankly, there's someone who doesn't get to use our trails and they're paying $80 and they don't use our trail at all. But there are groups that would overuse our trail and, pay a fraction of that amount of money to be able to do it. And we can attract those people in all at once and raise a substantial amount of capital for us to operate and do our business. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's where I stand on this. I'm going to hold my ground as well.
Thank you. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, I'll just let everybody know, when the assessors assess the land, when it's a new construction type of thing, they go out there sometimes by the week and they take pictures. They have to tax for the value of the land at the time that they submit the taxes. And it stays that way. So if they don't build anything, the initial land cost, that stays. If they dig a hole and they put concrete in there, there's a value that goes up. And so they're constantly being watched by the assessors, without a doubt. And we're putting up a civic center, and they go out there like every 3 days and monitor, and we don't have to pay taxes because we're a government, but they still have to put a value on it. And that's why, what Julie said, you got to understand, everybody's paying what they're supposed to pay based on the level of the work that's done. But the other thing was, when I talked about expenses, every government, if you go to the schools, our school district at the high school wants to renovate a 100-year-old building, and it's like $1 million something just to get off the ground. You're talking huge dollars, $23 million. And it's what goes on with schools. The board is controlled by the superintendent, because most of the people on the board don't understand what they're doing, and they're fed numbers that they are told are correct, and they believe them. And so they vote for all these tax increases, and they don't understand the dynamics. And when you try to explain it to them, the superintendent sidesteps you so that you can't get your message across. Because, like, we figured out how to save New Lenox big money, the Lincoln Way area, and the Homer Township area, just by changing the districts. And it would cost neither school district any money, but can they get together on it? No. Because each little fiefdom wants their piece of the pie. When you get down over here to the forest preserve, when I said cut expenses, I'm talking about actually cutting programs. Now, the first program that comes to my mind is what, you guys haven't been, a lot of the new people don't know how I feel about burning, killing the invasive species. Ralph can remember all the times. I even went through the history from like the beginning of the time one year. But if we did it, instead of doing it every year, and we did it every 2 years or 3 years, then plant them invasive species plants that may not be in my mind, but if they are, they get burned every 3 years. What's the difference? They're just taller. So we could save money by not doing those type of programs. We don't have to raise revenue. We have to cut something that we're doing that we ain't going to hurt the forest preserve at all. And we have to look at it and say, well, and I'm not picking on the plants, but it's just an example. If we burned every 2 years instead of 1 year, that's a lot of money. It's a real lot of money. And there's other things that, I have to look at everything. I haven't done it because it's, a real lot of work that I wouldn't understand. I'd have to drive Ralph crazy. What does this mean? And I don't want to do that. But if we cut things, you don't have to worry about $40. Are you kidding? $40 to me is a lot of money. A real lot of money. $80, forget about it. That's like, you want to charge me $80 for what? So, I mean, that's kind of what people think. People are frustrated with government and taxes. And, like, I don't know where Joe lives or Jackie lives, as far as tax rates, but come out by us, your average people are paying 10, 12 grand for property tax, and they're going to go up 1%. So like, if your tax rate goes up slightly, so ours is going down on this, so I'm not bitching about this, but if it goes up 5%, 5% on a house that's being taxed at $5,000 is one number. A house that's being taxed at $10,000, that's a whole different number, and it ain't $40, and it ain't $80. So it depends on the EAV of all these things. So when we talk in generalities, we're kind of like misleading the public because we should be talking about the tax, the actual tax, and how we can cut expenses. That's what we need to do. And I'll shut up because I'll drive people nuts.
Thank you. Judy?
Thank you. So I just wanted to say, now Forest Preserve's at a fortunate time because we retired a lot of debt, which was from a big debt bond we put out years and years ago to purchase a lot of land. When you look at the budget here, we are taxing to the max. And regardless of the small amount, I think every single taxing body should look at what they can do to ease the burden on taxpayers. Even though it's only $20 or $15 or maybe just a latte, whatever it is, we need to look. If everyone collectively makes this choice, then they'll do that. So yes, we are lowering the rate. Everybody's tax bills will go down, and I appreciate that, but we are taxing to the max in that same breath. So it's kind of like, the amount going forward next year obviously will remain lowered because we retired all that debt. So that is true. But I think everyone on this board should look at the budget and see, is there something that we can do to lower this from taxing to the max at 3.4%, which is full CPI plus new construction, or what other ways could we bring in different revenue? I know in the past we have had, to respond to Mark in a sense, we have had big events that the Forest Preserve did allow in, a rock run. What was the rock run bike, or what was that?
Yeah, Ride the Rock.
Ride the Rock. So while that was really nice and beneficial, what happened was it was a big cost to us because a lot of times it had rained, people parked everywhere, and there was so much cost after the fact. So that particular event we stopped doing because it was not cost effective to us. So we do want everyone to use our preserves, but we have to make sure that in using them, it isn't a big cost to us. Now, there's always going to be a cost, and we expect that. We know we have employees working, clean up, things like that. And we're all, I think, good with that, but we have to be smart about which events we have and which ones we choose to not have, because we can have a lot of damage. And I know Rock Run had a lot of damage, and there was a lot of issues with accidents and such like that. That became a problem. But I do think we could look at new ways. I know in the past, there were people that came forward and they wanted to do disc golf or whatever like that. And we chose not to do anything like that because we're like not a park district. So maybe the operations committee and finance as a whole could go into the next year and look and say, what could we do that we aren't doing today? Because maybe we do put in disc golf and we have a league and they pay to use it. I don't know, you know what I mean? Those are different types of things that we could look at changing what we do as a forest preserve. So that's the difference. Forest preserve versus park. Park offers these things, forest preserves don't. So we have to decide if that's something that we want to do. But it is a difficult decision because some things do cost us money. But again, I think every single taxing body should look at what they have and do what they can to lower it. Now, in this respect, our levy got lowered because we're retiring a lot of debt. So that's a positive, but we're still taxing to the max. So maybe there's some room in here. I'm not sure. And if 3% drop is only 77 cents change savings, it's still 70 cents savings. We haven't taxed the max. We can say we didn't tax the max, and we can give that positive message to our constituents. So thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I just want to say that, of course, I support the Forest Preserve in many of their endeavors. I believe that sometimes when we talk about the tax cuts, like Mr. Revers brings up, and we like to compare it to the school boards, but let's remember, we're Forest Preserve commissioners. We're not school board members. We have no control over the school board. All we can control is the Forest Preserve, and that's where we need to put our focus. And I have not made up my mind about this, but I would like to see that there is some effort put forth to actually save the taxpayers some money, because admittingly, 2% is not a lot. And maybe the savings is not a lot. Maybe you're not going to give that much of a cut, but an effort is appreciated. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And I just think that, we got to stay focused on what this board can do to help the taxes get lowered.
Thank you. Micah?
Thank you. So I agree with both Member Pretzel and Member Van Dyne's comments. However, I have heard a couple of things that kind of bother me. I feel that charging high fees or any other fees for those who are using the Forest Preserve is not a good idea. Growing up, my family with, the 18 foster kids, 3 older sisters, mom and dad, we could not afford to go to a park that cost money. So we were able to walk on trails though, because it was free. Having my own family, my husband and I, we couldn't afford to pay for a rental fee if we had to, or to charge us a fee to go into a park. We would have had to have turned our car around. So maybe I'm a rarity on the board that, funds in my home were extremely tight. But I think that forests should be accessible to everyone, not just those who have the money to pay for it. And I think that being able to get our kids out in those forest trails and to be able to go fishing or whatever they can do out in nature is a good thing, especially in the year 2024. As the Forest Preserve Commissioner, I have been blessed by the ability to attend conferences in January in Chicago. I have sat in on the controlled burn sessions. I guess you could call me unique. I don't know if anybody else goes to lots of meetings, but I fill my agenda and I go to all of them. And I have learned that culling and burnings, controlled burns and mulching trails and cutting the fallen trees and getting the brush out, all of those are important to maintaining the life of the forest. So to cut those programs, you're going to be letting your forests become messy and not safe. So I think that we need to look at that too. So those were just a couple of comments. I think that the Forest Preserve does an excellent job at using a budget that seems very tight. There's usually not a lot of wiggle room. So I would be in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry?
Thank you. I just really want to echo what Member Butler said. He said it very well. I know we're going to have lots of conversations about this. This isn't the last conversation we are going to have, but I would really ask respectfully that we confine our discussions to the Forest Preserve. We have nothing to do with the school districts. It doesn't matter from our perspective what the school districts do, and I really think it just detracts from the conversation, and I would ask that we stay focused. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for all your comments and thoughts. Any last comments before we move on? All right, and back to Jim.
So a comment and then to wrap up finance. I mean, this is why I love talking about finance. We always have healthy discussions and we get differing opinions. What I'm going to say, and Joe, you may want to agree with me on this. I think on the finance committee, we're always willing to listen to ideas, bring us ideas that have solutions, that have a positive ROI. We're more than happy to put them on the agenda and have the discussion. Joe, would you be you'd be open to that too? I'm sure on operations. It'll make sense. And maybe what it comes down to is that the two committees actually sit down and look at these proposed solutions and work with Ralph and see if we can get them work through the process. I think that's the most logical way about moving forward. So with that, our next meeting, and we could have one sooner if anybody wants to, if they've got some ideas and concepts, it's going to be Thursday, October 3rd, 2024 here, immediately following the Operations Committee meeting, but no earlier than 9:15 a.m. at the Will County Office Building here in Joliet. So, and that's the end of my session.
Okay, thank you for all of that. Then we will move on to our Operations Committee, Chair Van Dyne.
Thank you again, Madam President, and good morning to everyone. Operations Committee has 6 items to present, and believe it or not, all these recommendations have been voted unanimously to support. So I'll start with number 1, award a contract in the amount of $82,240 to GC Designs Incorporated of Minoka, Illinois for Veterans Memorial Trail landscape enhancements, and I so move.
We're going to do a roll call vote because Member Butler joined us late. So can we do a roll call?
Diaz.
What's it?
Oh, thank you. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Ogala. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Balich. Richmond. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Trainier. President Parker.
Yes,
We have 20. Full quorum.
20
Sorry.
in the affirmative, motion carries.
Thank you. Number 2, award a contract in the amount of $34,813.74 to Lakeshore Recycling Systems of Rosemont, Illinois for West Zone waste removal and recycling. I make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, second Mueller, sorry. Previous Winfrey, second Costa, all in favor? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to award the contract in the amount of $181,750 to Homer Tree Care Incorporated of Lockport, Illinois for annual tree and brush maintenance.
Motion Van Dyne, second Winfrey. Previous Costa and second Micah Freeman. Sorry. All in favor? Aye, motion carries.
Number 4 on our agenda, approval of ordinance number 672, authorizing the termination of private license agreement number 0743 at the Joliet Junction Trail Preserve and Theodore Marsh Preserve, and I so move.
Motion Van Dyne, second Freeman, previous Winfrey, second Berkowitz. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Keep saying that.
Number 5, approval of ordinance number 673, authorizing public utility license number 2412 to Comcast Corporation for the installation and maintenance of underground fiber optic cable fixtures within and across the Wabansie Glacial Trail at the intersection of Laraway Road in Joliet Township. And I so move.
Motion Van Dyne, second O'Gala, previous Winfrey, second Diaz. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And last, approval of resolution number 2418, authorizing an IGA agreement number 2404 between the Forest Preserve District of Will County, City of Lockport, Village of Romeoville for a cost-sharing agreement related to the I&M Canal path cost. And I will make that motion.
Get all that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Our next meeting date, Thursday, October 3rd, 2024 at 9 a.m. here at this building. And that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and we will move on to our ad hoc committee, Chair Dean Schlottman.
I have an old business thing that probably should go in but you don't have old business.
Let her talk.
There's no old business.
Okay.
Do we do it under comments by commissioners?
Yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, at this time, Madam President, there is nothing to report.
all right, thank you. Business, none. Reports? None. There is no executive session. Action, there is no actions following executive session. All right, are there any comments by the public? No? Any comments by the public? None? They don't want to come in? Okay. All right, thank you. Comments by the executive director.
I only have one today. If you are available on Saturday, it would be nice of you to stop by Fall on the Farm up at Riverview Farmstead. And if you have kids or grandkids, bring them along because I think they'll have some fun. Can get more information on the website about that
Thank you.
this Saturday.
Thank you. All right, comments by commissioners. Mr. Balich.
Yeah, you probably need to put old business on it somewhere because that's where it belongs. During our operations meeting, we had that problem with Hickory Creek with the bike riders. And I'd like to see a resolution come forward from the Forest Preserve to address what we want to do, because that's a policy thing. You know, I get it that the Forest Preserve, they do certain things without creating a policy, but that's like a big deal. And I think we really need to have a actual policy on it. And in order to do that, we got to get a, and, that's why I was going to say in old business, I was going to make a motion. You can't make a motion in public comments. So, if it's possible, without making a motion, I'd like to see a resolution drawn up so that we can address this stuff and the board can create the policy.
Thank you. Tracy, do you want to follow up with that?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to update the ordinance and then it will reflect the change that'll be made for that.
And do you want to give an update of what has happened since our last meeting?
We do not have an update. I gave my information to Camber after the meeting. And so once we touch base and have a meeting, then we'll update after that. Oh, and then, in regards to the signage on the preserve, we did remove 3 of the signs that were at the entrances and we left the remaining signs around the unauthorized area. But there was signage away from that area and we took those down, but left the signs in that area up for now.
Dan?
So I just wanted everyone to know, in case they weren't, I talked to Ralph afterwards and, I didn't like the idea that they had the signs and I felt that they were directing this towards the actual kids that were riding the bikes. But the reality is there were people out there actually building paths, maybe building little mud dams to get past creeks and stuff like that. And I think that's who it was aimed for. And I definitely think that's a worthy endeavor. I mean, if you're on a mountain bike, you should follow the terrain. That's part of the mountain bike experience. You shouldn't be creating new terrain. And I think if that program is more directed towards that, I think it'll be better received.
Thank you. Judy?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond on that as well. So I know we had this Don't Be a Jerk program and at that point in time, nobody really had any responses to it, right? Now we've had some feedback and I do think that we all agree. If your dog poops, pick it up. If you have garbage, don't throw your coffee cup, keep it, carry a bag. I pick stuff up as I walk all the time myself. But, perhaps we should say something besides don't be a jerk. Even though we might call them a jerk, that probably for the person who's a constituent of ours and they're riding their bike or walking, even if they're just walking, don't be a jerk might not seem very good to them. So I'm thinking perhaps we should have a further conversation on the signs and maybe put a sticker over the signs rather than get rid of them, because we can easily do that. It would be less costly. That would simply still say, you're not able to use this trail for whatever, because when we have the conversations, with the group that would like to have certain trails, and I do support that idea. But of course, we're not going to have that in every forest preserve. So we'll still have forest preserves where we'll need a sign that say you cannot, it's prohibited to use mountain bikes here. Because I think, personally, I think we should have, I don't like bikes on the trails that I walk on, you know what I mean? Because they go very fast compared to my walking. Or if I have my granddaughter on her bike, she's 5, you know, she's so little. And maybe we need to look at part of our plan going forward is we have a bike specific for walkers or somebody with little kids on a bike and the adults on a different trail. I know it would be cost a little bit more money to do that, and we'd be going in the forest preserve a little bit. But if we want to keep people on a path that we approve, I think that's something to look at doing. So thanks.
Thank you. Micah, Meta, sorry.
It's okay, happens a lot. It's 3-letter M names. We're in board member comments, right? So I just wanted to say thank you to all the staff and to Ralph and Lisa and Tracy for all the work that's gone into this budget process. I know from my experience last year that this is not anything we take lightly, and we put lots of hours into making sure we're doing it just right. And we're all taxpayers too. So whatever we do in this job, staff included, affects every one of us. We all have to pay for it. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that effort and time everyone's put in. I appreciate you. And I appreciate the board members for all the reading they're going to be doing, because the budget time is quite a lot of reading. So thanks for your help. And I look forward to October's discussion.
Really? No. All right. Any other comments? None. Oh, Julie, sorry.
Thank you, President Parker. So I just want to give a big shout out to all of the people and the residents in the county that are a part of the Nature Foundation. It's an incredible organization, and we're talking about revenue today, and we can't even put a dollar amount on what they contribute to the forest preserve and ultimately to the benefit of all the residents and people in the region that come out to use our forest preserves. In addition to the people in the Nature Foundation, working with the foundation, we have all of our forest preserve officers and their volunteers. And there's just an incredible circle of people who are donating in ways you can't even measure to the forest preserve system. So that isn't recognized enough. It's a mighty force in the background that has its own little energy. I've been happy to be a part of it. Had to take a short retreat because of a bad hip. But as soon as I get that fixed, I'll be back and running. And but I just wanted to put that out there. The many people, amazing people I've met that are a part of that, and that you get to work side by side with, that is just something that needs to be shared with others. So there's a lot of good work that goes on at our forest preserve, and we provide an incredible resource to people. And I think I like to tell people that I meet that we are absolutely the best in the state, if not in the region. Thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging them, and we'll be doing that again momentarily. We will move on to appointments, comments by the president, which I have none. And so then we will move on to a presentation of awards by the Nature Foundation of Will County.
Well, I was going to chastise Ralph for stealing my thunder about Fall on the Farm, but now I can chastise Julie for get ahead of my skis. But my name is Tara Neff. I'm with the Nature Foundation of Will County, and I'm here to share with you today how our donors and supporters have helped provide funding for some of the Forest Preserve District initiatives that help protect nature inspire discovery, and bring people and nature together. So the Forest Preserve District has worked with the Nature Foundation for the past 10 years, and we received a grant from the Target Corporation to help the Forest Preserve District acquire a 1936 fully restored and functional John Deere tractor and wagon, which will make its debut at Fall on the Farm this Saturday from 11 to 3 at Riverview Farmstead. We hope you'll be able to come out and take a look at it. The tractor was lovingly restored by Bruce Roskins and sold at a bargain price. Just another shameless plug. This will be the site for the Nature Foundation's last native plant sale, so we do hope we'll get an opportunity to chat with you. Our Nature Foundation donors have also provided funding for the famed and acclaimed Woods Walk, which entered its 22nd year. It opened on September 1st and runs through November 30th. Participants have until then to log the 10 beautiful walks throughout the Will County preserves, and those who submit their completed travel log by December 8th are eligible to receive the 2024 medallion, which is for the first time featuring an eagle. We're also pleased to announce that we're supplying funds for 2 fall initiatives at Isle Allagash Preserve and Museum. This fall, bird nerds will be happy to hear about the outdoor bird feeding enhancements that are underway there, and IndigiFacts exhibit, which is on loan or will be on loan from the Mitchell Museum of the American Indian in Evanston. It opens on Saturday, September 21st and runs through December 8th. The exhibit is featuring all of the facts about contemporary Native American life here in the United States and provides a great way for you to get questions answered about maybe things that you didn't know who you could ask. October 15th is a huge day at Four Rivers Environmental Education Center. We'll be featuring our Lost and Found Remnants of Savannas and Old Growth Forests. It runs through Sunday, December 29th, and it features the landscape photographer Miles Lowry's work, showcasing restored savannas and pockets of old growth forests. These beautiful landscapes are hugely important because they once covered most of the eastern half of the United States and are now very rare. Also on the 15th, we'll be working with Forest Preserve District staff and Pembina at their employee volunteer workday. We'll be working to disperse native plant seed and plant native plants throughout the campus, so that will be another enjoyable day. Finally, Lake Shamanwood. I can't call it Shamanwood because that's not right. So Lake Shamanwood is a beautiful attraction, a wonderful preserve that users love to visit for their beautiful lakes. You can get out there and kayak, you can canoe, anglers love it, people love the trail around it. And in order to accommodate all the users at this site, some big improvements were needed. And that's where the Nature Foundation was able to secure a donation from the Dollinger family that allowed Forest Preserve District staff to plan for short and long-term needs at the facility and then implement them in 2 phases rather than creating a wonderful plan and hoping to secure funds to implement over years. So we're pretty happy, and if you haven't had the chance to go out there and take a look at it, we hope you'll visit Lake Shamanwood's Joseph Dollinger Family Access. Finally, we've been working hand in hand with the Forest Preserve District for the past 10 years. We've been working really hard to provide support for all of the things that people love about the Forest Preserve District. We invested in things like the Take It Outside Challenge, the free exhibits like Birds and Art that happened this past winter, the work and the efforts that the Forest Preserve District has undertaken to make all of our preserves and centers more inclusive so that more people can enjoy them. We've been working to help protect and improve all of those beautiful natural areas that provide so many benefits to not only us for our health, but also the wildlife that we enjoy partaking in. And we're asking people who use and enjoy all of these benefits to support the Nature Foundation of Will County by participating in our 10,000 in 10 days Decade Challenge. We're going to kick this initiative off on Friday, the 13th. Yes, you heard it right, Friday the 13th. We hope you'll agree that we're a worthy investment and go online and donate. I'm sure we can share that link out with all of you, and we'll be back next year to highlight more of the donors and supporters and how we're putting these voluntary contributions to good use with the Forest Preserve District. Now I'd like to provide a check to the Forest Preserve District in the amount of $393,450. We're really thankful to have family really support and invest in the Lake Chamonix. Thank you.
And if I could just add one more thing to follow up on the whole revenue discussion. Last weekend, I think it was last weekend, we opened up a new kayak rental facility. We entered into an agreement with a company called Rent Fun out of Michigan. They installed 8 kayaks at Lake Chamonwood, and in the first weekend we had 60 rentals. So hopefully, maybe we can repeat that in some other places as well.
All right, well, thank you all for that. And Tara, thank you for all the information. We are now ready for adjournment. Can I have a motion? First and a second, all in favor? Aye, meeting is adjourned.
Hold on.
And then we have another meeting following this. Sorry, we have one more meeting following this, the decennial committee.
Real short.
It'll be real short, yep. That's everybody, right?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Is there anybody online doing this?
No. Don't let them leave.
Excuse me, we'd like to get this meeting started. It's the decennial committee. And we need everyone here in attendance. All right, so we will start our decennial committee on Local Agency Efficiency Act Thursday, September 12th, 2024. At 10:12, meeting was called at 10:25. And let me get Denise Winfrey, since you're standing, to say the pledge. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call, please.
Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Ogala. Pretzel. Butler. Okay. Newquist. Balich. Richmond. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Trainier. President Parker.
Here.
19. We have a quorum.
19 present, we have a quorum. All right, can I get a motion to approve our minutes from the, oh, thank you. Motion Trinier, second Mueller. Oh, we need to do a roll call, please.
Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Ogala. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Balich. Richmond. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Trainier. And President Parker.
Yes.
We have 19.
19 affirmative, motion pass, or minutes pass. All right. Is there any new business? I see none. Reports? No reports.
Reports available, it can be online or something.
Yeah, we'll put this in information. So.
Please.
All right. Comments by the public? Any comments by the public? I see no comments by the public. We'll move on to comments by the executive director. None. Comments by commissioners? Judy?
Yeah, why would you be giving a copy of the report to the executive? All the state statute says it comes to the board. I'm just wondering. That's all is required. Just give it to Sandy at the desk and then she'll process it. There's no reason to do 2 reports.
Thank you. Any other comments? Again, a motion to adjourn. Motion Ortiz, second. Balich, all in favor? Aye, motion, or meeting adjourned. Thank you. Why did that say sometime